Morning, everyone. Let's try that again. Good morning. It's so nice to see everyone here for day 2 of our conference. And I hope that you all got to enjoy some beautiful outside time yesterday. It looked like it was going to start raining, but I think it held off a little bit for us. But it's good to see everyone back this morning, and we're ready to begin with our opening plenary session this morning. And you know, our conference theme for this year is Mending Broken Pieces. And what an appropriate theme, I think, for the 18 months that we've all been through and our children have been through. Not only have we been through a worldwide pandemic, we've been through and experienced national social injustice. And so it's time for us just to mend those broken pieces, pick up the pieces, and let's move forward. And, you know, with our children, we have to model for them. We can't be do as I say, not as I do, because we know they're going to do what we do. So we have to model resilience for them. And I'm so excited about our keynote speaker this morning. We have to be resilient ourselves in order for our children to learn how to be resilient. So, every time that you get on a plane and get ready to take off, before they give you those instructions, what do they tell you about the oxygen mask? If it drops, you have to put it on yourself first before you put it on a child, if you have a child with you. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and our own social emotional health in order for us to be where we need to be to take care of our children. This morning, I'm so excited to welcome Joy Winchester. She is the director of the Office of Early Childhood Development and Professional Support from the Alabama Department of Early Childhood Education. And Joy has been in the field of education for over 20 years with a focus of supporting adults dealing with challenging behaviors through a trauma-informed and research-based neuroscience lens. This approach gives educators usable science as a foundation to tackle tough children and keeps emotions from running high between children and adults. As the director of the Office of Early Childhood Development, she has the flexibility to support a wide range of systems in Alabama, focusing on birth to 5 through numerous projects, working in collaboration with the Department of Human Resources. Her passion lies in highlighting the importance of high-quality experiences for all children in the most important time of brain development, which is birth to 5. And Joy practices what she preaches. She is one of the most, if not the very most resilient person that I know of. And I'm so proud to call her my colleague, but more importantly, I'm proud to call her my friend. So please, let's welcome Joy Winchester to the stage.
I'm going to silence my phones. Y'all do it too. I'm terrible about my silencing my phone. Oh, hang on, I got to push the button. I turned it off. Can I use my teacher voice and just yell? Good morning. First of all, I love speaking with K-12 teachers and educators. I get to do a lot of work in the K-12 system when they have kids who are a tad challenging. I love challenging behaviors. I guess I am a challenging behavior. I graduated college with a 4.0 in my education classes. You're welcome, world. I was the best teacher ever. They put me in Birmingham City Schools. There's anybody here from there? Y'all my people. There you go. And it broke me. It broke me bad. I realized those people were not in the book. They were not in the appendices. All of my practicum classes had been in perfect schools, and perfect schools weren't hiring at that time, so I got put in the one that'll break you and make you stronger, right? So what was interesting is when I was working there a very long time ago, I realized I was failing more kids than I was reaching. And so I started sneaking into UAB, had these roundtable discussions for psychology classes. And you could go in and listen. And I remember I sat in the back, and they're like, "Yeah, please introduce what department you're from." "Oh, children and adolescent health." "Oh, this is it." And they're like, "And you?" And I'm like, "Birmingham City Schools." And they're like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "The children. There's something wrong with them. They're not in the book. They promised me that they were going to be like, 'Oh, you wrote an amazing lesson plan? Teach me, wonderful lady, teach me.'" And in fact, they taught me. I mean, that was before Urban Dictionary, and now I have Urban Dictionary. I can look at words that teenagers call me to know if I should be offended or impressed, right? And I'm just like, okay. So one of the things I started understanding is what they didn't teach us in school was neuroscience. Learning is building the brain, plain and simple. And so I became kind of fascinated with building my mental health endorsement, but then I jumped into neuroscience. Because what they don't teach us in school is learning is a biological function. Biological. Whenever you learn something, you make a new brain pathway. So why are we not taught that in our educational classes? Why are we not taught how to build brains? And I had a principal talk to me in January, and he said, "Just why do you land at the Department of Early Childhood?" He's like, I need you in my high school. In fact, next week I'm starting training with high school principals and admin, and then we start training high school teachers on neuroscience. He said, "Why are you in early childhood?" Because see, if I can fix them in early childhood, it's going to make y'all's life much easier in first grade, second grade, third grade. Because I got to catch them early, because that's when 95% of the brain is developed. So the other thing that people ask me to do is speak on resilience, which I also find very funny because I'm a very real person. And so I think sometimes people like that I could easily do today with memes of you sail your ship in your own sunrise and all that crazy stuff. I could put baby animal pictures up here, which neuroscience will tell me will ignite your empathy in your brain and you'll dial in more. I could do all that, but you're not going to leave with anything tangible, right? So I have been asked to speak this week. On Tuesday, I did an opening keynote, building resilience. Then the session after that, I did a session on coaching with the brain in mind. How many of us coach, but we don't understand neuroscience? Today, I have resilience. Next week, I have another session where I'm doing teacher resilience. And I got tickled because I was like, everybody wants resilience right now. And so I have a friend who's a national speaker, and she does national talks on resilience. And I called her, and she said, "What's your topics?" And I said, "Resilience." And she's a national speaker on resilience, and she goes, "Ugh." I said, "I know, ugh." And she said, "No one is feeling the love right now." She said, "How are you going to tackle resilience when we have the state of what we have with educators in America? Forget Alabama, America." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to start with the truth, right? Because being true, starting with the truth is the only way to fix it." So if we start with what we know, here are some scary statistics that have just come out. And oh, by the way, a lot of y'all don't know me. I will not read you my PowerPoint slides. You all have gotten here because you can read, right? I talk fast, and I rarely will just touch on the points. And that way, if you want more information, you can get the slides and go find it. Does that make sense? But so a lot of times when I put these slides up or I hand out my PowerPoints, people are like, "I'm not staying for this. She's going to be talking for 7 hours." And I'm like, "Oh, no. 45, we out the door. We got things to do," okay? So when you see these heavy slides, it's really a reference for you. So don't freak out on me. And it's also a side note, funny story. On Monday or Tuesday for my keynote, I had an American Sign Language interpreter. And she said, can I have your PowerPoint early so I could prepare? And I was like, aw, bless it. And then at the end, she goes, you're hard to keep up with. And I said, I know, you want to come with me on Thursday? She said, no. So anyways, what we know here is 75% of our teachers are reporting that job-related stress. 75%. And look what we've asked them to do. Do online, do virtual. We asked them for so much. We asked them to come in. And when they are scared of COVID, we asked them to do a lot. And none of us got into education knowing thinking we were going to make $100,000 a year, right? We got in with our purpose. And I was working with a teacher a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I just don't want to do it anymore. And I said, what do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? And she said, I just don't want to do it anymore. One of the things that I've found through a pandemic, and this is my first pandemic. I don't know if this is y'all's first. Some of y'all might have made it through the Spanish thing. This is my first. This is my first Delta variant. This is my first everything. Is we're forgetting our why. And there's a quote that I love, and it says, a man who lives for a why can bear any how. Isn't that cool? And so I asked the teacher, I said, do you remember when you signed up for your first education class? And she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, I was 18. And I said, yeah, tell me about that girl. She's like, she thought she could change the world. She signed up excited to be a teacher because her mama was a teacher, her grandmama was a teacher, and she wanted to carry that on, but she knew that's what she wanted to do. And I said, where is she? And she looked at me and she said, she's gone. And I was like, we need her back. Because that why, that time that you signed up for that first education class, that's what's going to get you through right now. If you live for your why, you can bear any how. And sometimes we, especially all of us in this room, I know I do, I have a team of 64 coaches I direct, we get tangled up in the how. Joy, that's impossible. How? How are we going to do this? How? But if we have the why as our guide, the how will come, but we can't lose our why. All right? So the other piece that we have is teachers report higher levels of depression. Child care teachers' levels of depression right now nationally are scary. Head Start's depression is almost 80%. Our Head Start teachers are working with our most vulnerable kids, and their levels of depression are through the roof. Adult resilience is extremely important because you can't give what your kids need from you, goodness, unless you're 100%. My husband will say to me sometimes when I've had a long week or long day, he said, they get the best of you, I get the rest of you. Sound familiar? He's like, and I said, well, fortunately, we did these things called marriage vows, and you said for better, for worse, so you're in it, buddy. I hope you like the worst of me. I'm just kidding. But we charge, this is the point. We give, and we're tired. I was speaking with another group, and they said, we're just tired. But it's not physical tired. We're emotionally tired. We're tired. We're tired of wearing masks. We're tired. This is probably the first conference I've ever been to, but I know Jennifer Cannell had her hand in it, where there's probably more Lysol cans than attendees. I have to admit, I was a little impressed. And then, the fear in me is like, I wonder if I could put 4 or 5 of these in my book bag and take it home, because I could sell these bad boys on Amazon come Christmas when we're all wiped out again. Look, everyone's like, yeah, we can take them. I'm like, I know, she can't stop us all. Anyways, all right. So let's talk about what is resilience. And this is not going to spend a lot of time on this because you all know what it is. It's your ability to bounce back. It's your ability to get back up and try again. Fall down 7, rise 8. Right? That's what resilience is. And we have to move forward. I have another picture in my office, and there's a book out, but his name is Charles Mackey. I don't know if y'all have seen him. He does sketches, and it's called The Boy and the Horse. And it's like little wits of wisdom. And the boy says to the horse, I can't see the next step. I don't know where I'm going. And the horse says, can you see the step in front of you? And the boy says, yes. And the horse says, just take that. That's resilience. You don't know where we're going, This is where we all are right now. And some of us are planners. Look, y'all are teachers, let's just be honest. 95% of y'all are OCD, organizational planners. I work with y'all. Y'all a little intense. Okay, but anyways, you're planners. And we can't plan in this environment, right? So it's hard. So why is adult resilience so important? Why do we have to focus on it? Well, the bad news is stress kills. Stress will kill you, okay? If you do not step up and be intentional about building your resilience, it will have a negative impact on your life. They did a study of 1,000 U.S. citizens, and they asked those 1,000 citizens, how much stress have you had in the last year? And then they asked them another question that was fascinating. How much time have you spent caring for others? They followed them for the next 5 years. For every stressful event they had a 30% increase in dying. However, the people who reported caring for others had a 0 increase in stress-related death. Y'all are all like, why? Neuroscience. What? Yeah, see, this is why I love neuroscience. Because we can talk about the feel-good stuff, but what if I tell you that when you're stressed out, you release stress hormones? And one of those hormones is really cool. It's called oxytocin. Now, you might know this as the love hormone. This is also the cuddle hormone. This is what makes us want to be around other people. Oxytocin is powerful. And it's powerful because it's released during stress, because when you're stressed out, your brain is saying, connect with others. When you connect, oxytocin goes up. But here's something cool about oxytocin. It has a place, receptors in the heart, that actually regenerate heart cells that are destroyed by stress. So when you connect in stress, and you care for others, and you build up that oxytocin, you're actually repairing your heart physically. See, the human body's amazing. The same stress hormones that destroy the body, there's a built-in one to rebuild it, and that's resilience. But you gotta connect. Now, if you don't know what oxytocin is, I'm gonna tell you what it feels like. You come to this conference, I'm so glad this conference is in person, because it's so different virtually. But you come to this conference and you see Jennifer, and I'm like, Jennifer, and she's like, Joy. We're like, how are you? That rush you get, oxytocin. Makes you feel good, makes you want to connect. If your kids in your program feel it, they're also going to build resilience. So imagine if I saw Jennifer, and I said, Jennifer, and she's like, hey, Joy, I got to go. Send me an email. I'd be like, heifer. But what do we do to our kids when they walk in? Miss Joy, look what I got. Put your book bag up. Come on, we got to go. I'll talk to you later. Heifer. The human brain only wants us to say this. Joy, Jennifer, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Hey, we got a busy day today. Put your book bag up. I can't wait to see what you're going to show me. I'm going to catch you up. I'm going to catch up with you at 11 o'clock. Deal? Deal. See you then. You just built a connection. A dangerous kid is a disconnected kid. You connect with a kid that got a dog in the fight. Before COVID, I was working with a violent teen group. And my kids had 0 connection. And we had to disband the group after COVID, but it was working with them on building their own resilience, their own social emotional skills. And what was interesting to me is how many of them had 0 connections to the people who were supposed to be helping them. The good news is you got to take care of yourself. And the great news is you can build your own resilience. You can build it, but you have to be intentional. So see, right now, in our world right now, we didn't have to be intentional about being resilient as much before COVID. If you go to my office right now, I have 3 computer screens and 2 cell phones. Before COVID, if I had 4 meetings a day, I thought I was going to have a bad day. Now, after COVID, I start at 7:15 in the morning, and I'm usually on a Zoom call till 6 at night. I had a 5-hour drive down here and did 3 interviews and a conference call all the way down, driving down the highway, and it was completely normal. No one's like, I can't believe you're doing this from the car. They were just like, can you mute? We hear road noise. Sure. We are being pulled so hard. And think about it. In the old days, we would go to meetings and we would walk from our car movement. And we would walk in and we'd see people, hey, sit down, let's talk about yucky stuff. Okay. And we'd sit down, contact. Now we sit in a chair, Zoom call. No, there are some days I sit in a chair for 5 hours straight. Zoom call. Which is why I'm so glad I get to have days out in the field, because I would lose my mind if that was my life all the time. But we don't move. We don't see people. And so we have to be more intentional about resilient, because this life right now will drain any ounce of sanity you have. You've got to set up your boundaries. Okay? So, you know I'm a nerd. Well, you don't know, but you're about to. I'm a nerd. I'm as nerdy as they come. I love the brain, because the brain helps me understand, why is this child I'm trying to work with throwing a chair at me and saying, call my mom, I'm ready to go home. All right, big man. They called someone a tad crazier than you. We're going to make it to the bell rings, right? We're making it to the bell rings today. Because, see, your behavior has worked for you. In other words, if I act a fool, I get to go home. And I get it. We don't want dangerous kids in our school. But if their behavior is working for them and they're not connecting at school, where do they want to go? Home. The one place that ill-prepared them to be successful in the first place, we're sending them back to. And without resilient teachers, we can't handle these type of kids. So in your brain, there is this little horrible place called the amygdala. And it is your stress response. It is what saved us when we were cavemen. We reached down to pick up a stick to make a fire, and it was a snake, and and we jumped. We had a cortisol rush. Our muscles got tight so we could bounce and we could jump. Does that make sense? It saved us a long time ago. The amygdala doesn't think. That means you have the same stress response when you're walking into a meeting and you've messed up something at work and you know you're about to get in trouble. Your heart pounds. You're like, okay, I got to get this done. I'm going to get in trouble. All right, well, I can always work at Waffle House. At least I can get free waffles. The entertainment at 2 a.m. is going to be worth it, right? I mean, we get that same stress response. The amygdala just releases those stress hormones. I need you to understand this, especially when working with your kids. No one learns in fear. No one learns in fear. If we did, prisons would be our highest institutions of learning. So why do, when I walk down halls of school, am I hearing kids threatened in fear and then they're being told they just don't learn? You couldn't either if you were scared to death. The amygdala is taking over. No one learns in fear. No one learns when they're stressed out. This is why our teachers are crumbling right now. We're asking to put more and more PD. I had one teacher say, I dare you to tell me I need to go get a massage and do one more mindfulness minute. I said, I'm not doing any more mindfulness with you guys. Because at the end of the day, you have to own it yourself. Drive back to your purpose. Do you want to be successful here? You're going to have to build resilience. Are y'all with me on that? It's one of these really complicated scenarios that we're building. Our kids are the barometer. I have some severe behaviors across the state right now in some young children. Stuff we've never seen before. They're screaming to us, the adults are not okay. That's all they're doing. They're screaming, the adults in my life are not okay. Help them. If I can help the adults, the kids usually fall in place pretty quick. Yes, there are some with diagnosis. But they're the adults. If I can get them in that resilient mind, they'll come. When your amygdala is kicked up and it's in high drive, your thinking brain shuts down. You are no longer a thinking human being. Anyone ever been stressed out and you say or do something you have to apologize for? My bad, I didn't mean to call you a heifer, Jennifer. I forgot it was being recorded. Super my bad. When you're stressed, you're a shadow of yourself. You're not who you were created to be. So you have to find ways around this. What we'll do is when I work with teachers, what we see and what I hear is, and Jennifer and I did this last night at dinner, we focused on the problem. We had stories we were exchanging of teachers looking at me going, I don't feel it anymore, I'm out. Okay, well, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. What you gonna do, fire me? Who's gonna take my place? What you gonna do, Joy? What you gonna do? At this point in time, I used to hire for skill. Now I hire for a heartbeat and a personality, hopefully. And it's tough. It's hard to find these. And we get so, and finally we both looked at each other and we're like, but we don't know what the solution is because everyone's in a dark place. I had one principal tell me, I'm interviewing people now that I would never have even picked up their resume. She said, just because I need warm bodies to hopefully keep people safe in this building. And she's like, if you know anybody, and I'm like, if I know anybody, they're coming on with my team. I'll just tell you that right now. Remember how we used to share resumes with each other? When I was an administrator of a school, we used to, the other administrators, you got any resumes? Yes, let me send those to you. Now we're like, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing. Are you sure, Joy? Yeah, I'm fine. As soon as she gets out of prison, she's mine. We're good. I'm not. It was a fake charge anyways. It's fine. It's fine. I just won't let her handle money in the school. We fine? Oh, that's too funny. No, that's not. It's sad, isn't it? Yeah, I know. We have a new project at our office where it's Ingram State. Anyone know Ingram State Community Technical College? Anybody? They do career prep programs for prisoners. And it was so funny because my secretary said, Joy, I want you to sit in on this call. I was like, oh, are we career prepping prisoners for teaching? And she started laughing, and she was like, no, they want us to do a neuroscience training for the inmates to train them on how to build their resilience so they can reconnect with their children when they get out. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm on that one. The other prospect scared me. Okay. So why do we care about the amygdala? On you, you can't learn. You're stressed out. You cannot learn. And in fact, when you're stuck here, you only get focused on the negative. Why even try? I can't even get any more teachers. I think I'm going to retire early. I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to do. You leave. You're done. So what we have found is that there's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And this is a psychology thing, and some people roll their eyes, but there's neuroscience to back it up, and I want to talk you through it. Growth mindset is that you realize you're not stuck. The power of yet, we call it. I can't do this yet. I can't do yet. And we work with this a lot with kids. Kids who have a growth mindset can overcome a lot of trauma. Trauma kids are my favorite kind of kids because they manifest so differently. They flip out, but the ones I worry about are the ones that flip in. The ones that just want to go through the day and don't say my name, don't look at me, don't talk to me. My son has special needs, and he just graduated high school. And he's in welding. Thank you to Alabama for alternative career paths besides college, because he's phenomenal with his hands, but he just does not like school. And having a mom as a teacher probably made that worse. Anyways, that's another day. Okay, but he's had 3 friends commit suicide in 4 years. Where it is happening. And I talked to my son, I'm like, what happened? And he said, they don't have anyone to go to. They just want to be left alone. Just don't look at me. Don't talk to me. So you have kids that flip out, and they're the ones that are going to throw the chairs, and they're going to have a whole team of people coming to help them. Right? Everyone knows their name. If you got them in 3rd grade, the 8th grade teachers have already got their file. Because we're just trying to prepare the 8th grade teacher not to quit, because they're going to be bigger. But then you got these other kids that are actually in the same trauma, chaos inside, but their head is down and they just go through the day. Find them. Those are the ones that need you too. Those are the ones that are making C's and they just don't want. I mean, my son was a C student. And I said to him, don't. He says, Mom, if I could make A's, I would. If I could, I would. But I'm struggling, so I can't. And I said, okay, if you just get C's, at this point in my life, by the way, his sister, valedictorian. We're going to that's a whole nother trauma session too. Can you imagine? Older sister, 2 years ahead of you. Are you Alex's brother? My son would be like, no. Don't expect anything out of me that you got out of her. Just don't. She's annoying. I just want to be left alone. And that's one of these pieces is what we have to find them. Is we have to find these kids and help them understand you're not in this alone. Oxytocin, connection. One of the ways you can really practice this, and we talk about practicing the pause, but here's what you say to yourself. When someone is coming at you angry, if you're in a political debate, if you're in an issue with a kid, if they're fighting and they're like, I don't want to be here, blah, 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 calling you names and all that great stuff. You pause 6 seconds. Why 6 seconds? Anybody know why 6 seconds? We're about to go down a nerd trip. Anybody know? Cool thing. When you get triggered, your brain releases stress hormones. Stress hormones are released in a quarter of a second. You register those stress hormones and you start to feel your heart pound. Another quarter second. Everything starts moving. You realize what's happening. You're starting. In 6 seconds, every stress hormone is gone out of your body. At 6 seconds, you have a choice. Do you get in your feelings and keep them going? Or do you ask yourself, what is my goal right now? I ask myself, who is the person I want to be right now? See, after 6 seconds, you have no reason to act like a nut job. Isn't that cool? You have permission to be crazy for 6 seconds. But after 6 seconds, all of those stress hormones are gone. Then I call it you get in your feelings. This is why we hold grudges. This is why we stay mad for days. Some of us years. We get in our feelings. And that means you are doing it to yourself. You're making it go on. So that 6 seconds we call is an emotion. Your feeling is what you do with it. Doesn't that give you power? To know that in 6 seconds I can get myself together if I just take a deep breath and say, who do I want to be right now? And then I respond instead of react. After 6 seconds, you're acting like a nut job, you're angry, your stomach hurts, you feel horrible, your fault. Doing it to yourself. You are making your life shorter. For what reason? Because someone took your parking place at Starbucks? Is that worth it? Is it worth to lose a Christmas with your children just because someone took your Starbucks parking place? That's a little dramatic, isn't it? That's not good. Are you understanding? 6 seconds. Science behind it. I love working with teenagers with 6 seconds because that helps them also understand. Okay, wait a minute. I don't have to act like a fool. This is me getting in my feelings. The other thing I teach teens, this breathing. We inhale, exhale. That inhale and exhale, there's a nerve in your body called the vagus nerve. And I used to tell my teens, if I tell my teens to breathe, they're going to fight me. Breathe. What do you think I'm doing? How do you think I'm living? I'm breathing right now, right? You're like, oh, you have humor. Don't get in a fight while I'm here, please. Okay, right? So, but when I teach kids, and when I worked with my teens about the vagus nerve, we had a joke because, see, humor lights up the brain. So if I had two guys like, you know what? I'd say, hey, 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 Vegas, baby. And they would smile and be like, you're right, Miss Joy, Vegas. And they'd walk on. Take that deep breath because we learned the vagus nerve. Take a deep breath, inhale. It's a code word, Vegas, baby. Now, that's my guys. Now, what do my girls do? Girls are mean. You can put me in a fight with two 18-year-old boys 10 feet tall and I'm okay. You give me 2 5-foot-tall 12-year-old girls, and I'm like, can we call the military in? Because they're just evil. So my guys will be like, you're right, I'm going to walk it out, walk it out, walk it out. My girls, here's what I get with them. Vegas, baby, you're right, Miss Joy. I'm going to walk it out. Because she ain't worth it anyways. And they got to throw that verbal jab, which gets my other friend kicked up and be like, I'm worth it. So now their cue is, Vegas, baby, and shut your mouth. Just keep on walking with your mouth closed. Why do we have them move? Move the brain to move the body. Your body is not meant to do what it's doing right now. You will retain from this training probably about 10%. And you will probably retain the information that I said when you laughed or giggled, because learning is related to emotion. Pretty cool. You're not going to remember much of this at all, which is why my slides are so heavy. So that way you can go back and be like, what did she say about 6 seconds? And then you're going to be like, she didn't put that in there. She's a heifer. I don't know why heifer's on that. We got to stop saying heifer, because I got to go work with kids in a minute after I leave here, and I don't want to drop that word. 6-year-olds be like, heifer, that feels good. I think I'll say it 7 times today. Teacher, you're a heifer. And then I get in trouble. Did you teach him a word? Yes, I did. Okay, here we go. So what does a resilient brain look like? Here's the crazy thing. It looks different in MRI scans. 30 times more white matter in the frontal cortex. White matter. What's white matter? We all know gray matter. White matter is what you build every single day. Every time you learn something, you build white matter. If you were 80 years old and you learned a foxtrot, you have just built some white matter. You can build white matter the rest of your life. In fact, does anyone in here have people they care for who are elderly? You know the fear of dementia? Here's what's really cool, some science for you to take home. Drag them out of the house. I'm just kidding. 30 minutes of walking outside rebuilds the cells in the hippocampus. Why is that important? Why is the hippocampus important? Anybody know? The hippocampus is where you store your memories. People in dementia, when they do autopsies, the hippocampus is non-existent. Walking every day won't stop dementia, but it will prolong the memories being kept. Just get them outside, 30 minutes, enjoy the sun, enjoy the blue skies, walk 30 minutes a day, rebuild cells in the hippocampus. Isn't neuroscience fascinating? Now y'all going to be going home to great-grandma and be like, come on, let's go. What are you doing? Your hippocampus needs to be built. Let's roll. What's a hippocampus? I don't know, but the lady said you're not going to forget stuff. Let's go. Okay? Why do we need white matter in the frontal cortex? That's where you figure out solutions and problem solving. You need problem solving to be resilient, because if not, you get stuck. Does that make sense? When people get focused on the problem, all the negative feelings come. When you get focused on the solution, you have hope. All right. How do you do, and this is some pretty cool more science. Have y'all ever heard name it to tame it? This is pretty cool. This is why we tell kids, tell me how you feel. I was working with a little boy, and he was angry at me. And he was like, oh, and he crossed his arms. He was 5. I love when 5-year-olds get mad. Oh! And then he took off his shoe and threw it at me. I don't like that. But anyways, and I said, you're angry. Say you're angry. And he looked at me and he said, no. Pure fear over his face. I'm like, man, say you're angry. No. I was like, if you say you're angry, it's going to be okay. How many times do our parents tell our kids, I don't care if you're angry, shut it down, just deal with it. But then we get them in school and someone bumps them, and now I can't deal with it because I've never been given the permission to say, hit me again. You bumped me, you made me angry. That made me sad. And so he looked at me and he said, I'm angry. And I said, tell me why you're angry. And he had a legit reason for being angry in a 5-year-old's mind. He did. The teacher told him he could choose the next song. He couldn't read the song titles on the... He said, I can't read. I didn't know what song to choose. He said, and then she chose it for me and told me to go sit down. I'm angry. I was like, legit reason? And the teacher's like, I told him to sing it for me and I'd choose it. And he was like, I don't know how to sing the song. I don't know which one I want. I was like, legit reason? And the teacher was like, she laughed and she's like, this is why we don't like you here. They don't need lawyers. She goes, I need him to stop throwing chairs and throwing his shoes. And I was like, well, you got to stop giving him legit reasons. You told him to pick a song. Put some pictures up there. The boy can't read. You got to have a sense of humor. And I try to keep a sense of humor about a lot of things. I was working with the teacher in the classroom, and the principal's like, hey, come here, I need you in third grade. And I was like, I don't go third grade. I don't like third grade. My practicum was with the third. There are no third grade teachers in here, are there? Okay, if y'all tell a third grade teacher I said this, I'll say you're lying. They're intense. Like, third grade teachers, they believe that that's where learning really starts. Like, every other grade is just there for fun. Like, the joy. This is where we go from learning to read to reading to learn. This is the psychological shift in learning. If they don't get it here, they don't go to Harvard. I'm like, okay. And they're intense. So when I work with third grade teachers, they're like, look, your neuroscience is cute, but I got 17 things to do in the next hour, so fix this kid so I can get my stuff done. So I was in the classroom, and the boy was angry, and it was too much. It was too much to do. Does that make sense? He was overwhelmed, looking up, down, up, down. It was just too much. We had to put in some processes to say, all right, man, look, you're going to do this. Step 1, step 2, step 3. When you're stressed, your working memory doesn't work. You don't believe me? Have you ever been super stressed and gone to Walmart? You come out, you have no idea where you parked your car? Sound familiar to anybody in the room? How about you walk into a room and have no idea why you're there? I came here for something. You're not going crazy, you're stressed. Now here's what's interesting. If I asked anyone in this room who's ever lost their car at Walmart when they've come out, and if they didn't have that little dee-dee-dee-dee on their thing, they would not know how to find their car. We laugh, we're like, yeah, that's funny, ha 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 ha. When a child loses their homework, when a child loses their book bag, when a child can't remember to bring in their folder, I cannot believe you're so lazy. I cannot believe how unorganized you are. Their working memory hadn't even developed yet. It develops until the age of 26. Yet we expect out of them stuff we can't even do when we're stressed. And they get tags on them. Lazy, inconsiderate, defiant. You know what? There's a phrase in the country. You give a dog a name, he'll eventually come to it. Stop putting labels and look at it through a neuroscience lens that maybe every single child you're meeting is doing the best they can with the tools they have. Every teacher I meet, whether I agree with her philosophy or not, is doing the best she can with the tools she has. Everyone in here is doing the best they can with the. You will see the world a totally different way if you believe that. Every single person is doing the best they can with the tools they have. So why do we automatically assume the worst in our kids? You know you bumped him on purpose. You know you came over here on purpose. I have seen teachers, before a kid gets there, be totally calm, rational human beings, and they hear the kid coming down the hall, and their entire body changes. Here he comes. It's going to be a day. If he's wearing SpongeBob's shirt, get ready. If he comes in here in that Spider-Man crap, we're going to have to call SRO. Why? And guess what happens? We're humans. We're connected. That little guy walks in the room. You're ready because he's got Spider-Man tennis shoes and SpongeBob shirt. It's going to be a day. And probably, one of my principals said, he came in with a monster drink and a Snickers bar. I sent him home. She goes, we don't start our day like that. And I started laughing. She goes, Joy, I sent him home. I'm sorry you drove all this way, but I sent him home. And I was like, well, we need to talk to Mom about nutrition. And she's like, that's not my job. But as soon as that child sees that teacher, the brains talk. I read your cortisol level. See, it's what keeps me alive. If you're ready to fight, I got to get ready to fight. Sometimes I'll be in teacher classrooms, and I'll be there 8 hours, 6 hours, and I won't see a single behavior. And the teacher will say to me, well, he's usually horrible. I don't know. He's just good because you're here. And I'll say to her, how are you different because I'm here? Are you sticking with your schedule? Are you prepared because you knew a state lady was coming? Do you know I've got your back if he starts to act up so you're a little bit calmer? How are you different because I'm here? Because you can't hide crazy. If there's a diagnosis, I'm going to see it in 8 to 10 minutes. You can't hide ODD. You can't. So they can't suppress a diagnosis. So if I can be in a room and you're acting different, that means you can do it when I'm not here. So come on, we got this. That's a step. Let's go. All right? You can build your white matter, and you have to be intentional about it. You are not an old dog, and you can learn new tricks. I promise. It's a little harder when we get our age, but it can happen. You have in your folder a scale. I ask my coaches on my team to do this scale once every quarter. Why I love this scale is it gives a number to burnout. Okay? Compassion, fatigue, burnout, and job satisfaction. If your numbers are low, come to me. Let's figure out how I can take some stress off of you. We actually use this with our teachers too when we coach. And we have found that they are happier because they can see this is validating that I am flipping exhausted. But it gives us a model to help them. I'm not going to ask you to do it here because you know what? We'll just start having competitions. I'm a 70. Well, I'm a 75. Ooh, go get a drink, right? Go practice some self-care right now. Go now. Does that make sense? So this is a scale you can use with your staff or with yourself. Check in with yourself. Check in. Compassion fatigue. I'm going to tell you a sad story, but I want you to understand what compassion fatigue is. We had a child that was the victim of abuse. Came to school with belt buckles marks across her face. They called DHR. The child was removed, of course. During those 2 weeks the child was removed from home, her behavior improved amazing. She became who she was supposed to be. After 2 weeks, the parents completed a training, and she went back to her family. She became who she was before, an aggressive, violent, emotional child. Every afternoon, the teachers would put her in the car, and she would hold on to the teacher and beg them not to send her home. And every afternoon, they would pull her off and put her in the car. The teachers started to struggle with compassion fatigue. They knew they were sending her home to a nightmare. But there was no marks, and no matter how many times we called DHR, they wouldn't do anything because there was no marks. The principal called me and said, "Joy, you've worked with this child. I need you here tomorrow morning." The teacher quit. And she said, "I need a familiar face to transition her to the new teacher." I got there at 7 a.m., and here comes the car around to drop off. And the child got out of the car, and she got out with her head down, saw me, and smiled, and said, "Hey, Miss Joy." And I said, "Hey, baby." She said, "Where's Miss?" And I knelt down, and I said, "She's not here. You're going to have a new teacher." And that child fell to the ground and started crying. See, her teacher was her safe place. It was the only place she was safe. Do I fault the teacher for quitting? No. Sending home a child every day to a home that you know is not safe, you feel like you're a participant in the abuse, is hard. But when the system fails the child, you can't fail them either. And that child did not bond with the new teacher at all. Because why should she? She's just going to go away again like this one did. Does that make sense? Compassion fatigue will make teachers leave in a heartbeat. So you got to help them. You have to help them understand it. Burnout is different. Burnout is over time. Burnout is like, you know what? I love when teachers say this. I just need the people in Montgomery to understand what's happening with me, because they don't understand me, and they don't understand what they're putting down is not helping me, it's hurting me. It's too much. They're disconnected from me. Does that make sense? And as somebody that's in Montgomery, I'm like, well, talk to me. That's why I love to be in the field. The day I stop being in classrooms is the day I become a useless person to help fix these kids. Because I'm going to lose what's really happening. Because I can at least go back to Montgomery and say, hey, this is what we need to do in this classroom. Compassion fatigue is you actually feel the trauma. You will have the symptoms. So this scale will help you determine, are you going to burnout? Are you going to compassion fatigue? Or are you have satisfaction in your job? They all need to be measured. This may be a way to help teachers not leave. Compassion fatigue, this is what it looks like. You can have feeling overwhelmed, poor self-care, apathy. Who in here has ever seen a teacher who was amazing and then all of a sudden she just stopped caring? Whatever. Well, you used to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I used to. Yep. Look where it got me. Burnt out, and don't like my job, and don't like children. Whenever I go to Walmart on the weekends with my husband, there'll be usually kids acting up, and they'll be screaming, and kids in Walmart, it just is what it is. And my husband will be like, "Can you go fix that so we can get our shopping done?" I'm like, "I can't fix random children." And he's like, "Yes, you can." He's like, "Because that's annoying." And what he's saying is starting to be here. When you hear somebody in distress and you can't fix it, you start to be uncomfortable. Now, you want to know the science behind why that happens? Anybody want to know? I know you do because I'm going to tell you. Okay, here we go. When an infant cries, and how do you feel when that infant cries? You hear an infant crying, what do you want to do? Y'all are all like, leave it, give it to its mother. Right, what do you want to do? You want to pick it up, right? The baby feels how? Uncomfortable, sad. How do you feel? Uncomfortable. We are programmed to feel what they feel, so we fix it. We pick them up, we're like, he's okay. He's going to be okay. Who in here lives with a toddler? Toddlers are great neuroscience people. No one lives with a toddler? That's why y'all so happy. No, there's one back there. Okay, there we go. One soft hand. Don't worry, when I say who lives with a teenager, it'll be even worse. It'll be one finger. Toddlers, you want to help them put their shoes on. And they're like, no, me do it. And you're like, look, we've got to get over the house. Let me put your shoe on. They're like, no. How does that toddler feel? Frustrated. How do you feel? Frustrated. Why do we feel that way? Because we've been on the earth longer. We got the skill set. We're supposed to fix it, not dance in the fires with them. I was working with my first ODD kid ever. I will never forget. He is scarred in my memory. I love him to pieces. And my mentor said, how do you feel? And I said, oh. I said, oh my gosh, he's just a, oh. And she said, good. He's letting you feel how he feels. Now fix it. You're the one with the training. You're the one with the skill set. Fix it. So when these kids come at you and they make you feel, oh, they feel the same way. It's human nature. It's what our adult brains are to do. We dial in to feel what they feel, so we fix it. But what do? I tell my teachers, don't dance in the flames. At the end of the day, they have nothing to lose. You have everything to lose. You can lose your whole job if you get in the flames with these kids. So how do you build adult resilience? And we are going to fly through these because I have my phone. Okay, we're good. All right. You need to have relationships, internal beliefs, initiative, and self-control. So you're probably wondering, she's done this training so many times. Why does she have to keep looking at the slides? Because, see, I do write a new training every time I do it. It can be on the same topic, but if you went to the resilience one on Tuesday, totally different information. And you're probably like, well, which one was better? Oh, yours is, don't worry. Maybe. I don't know. I like them all. There's so much science, you can just stay with it. Okay. You can stay with it all. I could literally do an 8-hour whole day on the neuroscience of resilience because there's so much out there. I love science because it tells me it's doable. It's not this soft, touchy thing. So let's dive into these. What do your relationships look like? Who you surround yourself is who you're going to be. Now, some of us are stuck with family members who are toxic and negative. I can't help that. Go on the Jerry Springer show, have them over for Thanksgiving. They'll bring the corn casserole, I don't know, and they are just there. but who you surround yourself. If you surround yourself with negative people, you're going to be negative. Again, here's an example. If you sat down here today and someone sat beside you and you're like, I'm so excited, we're at the beach, this is phenomenal, we got free cans of Lysol, we're going to be great. Spraying each other, right? And the person goes, I cannot believe this conference. First of all, it should be virtual because there's COVID. And second of all, it was cloudy, couldn't even walk on the beach this morning. And then third of all, like this morning, I went for a sunrise walk on the beach, but I had to be here at a certain time, so I actually walked for a dark walk on the beach, and the sprinklers were on. Why are there sprinklers at the beach? Anyways, so I literally walked out of my hotel, and I'm like, is it raining? And it was sprinklers. And I was like, I have to walk 45 minutes now in wet clothes, but you can get tangled up in the negative. I was able to see a beautiful sunrise. I was able to walk on the beach. I was able to see a little dolphin thing. I think it might have been a wave. It was dark. I told myself it was a dolphin. It's fine. Who you sit with will determine how you act. When I first started at Birmingham City, they assigned me a mentor teacher. I think she had taught 217 years. And she smoked 190 of those. And so we had our first staff meeting, and right out of college, you're just like very annoying. And you're just like, this is gonna be the best meeting ever. And she came and she sat down, and she's like, I can't stand these meetings. And I was like, but it's gonna be so fun. And she's like, listen, don't sign up for nothing. Because see, whatever I signed up for, she had to go with me. And she was done. And I was like, but it's going to be good. And she's like, we're not doing it. So, of course, that was the first day. They're doing all these sign-up things. Who wants to do the environmental challenge? And she's like, we're not picking up trash. I was like, oh. But I like sea turtles. We're not picking up trash. Okay. Family engagement. The parents won't come. Okay. PTA. We're not buying hot dogs for everybody. Every time my little hand went up, she'd be like, just put it down. I didn't sign up for nothing. And my mom, I went home, she's like, how was your first day? I was like, it was not good. I have a mean mentor, and I don't think she likes teaching. Do you have friends who support you? Do you have a mentor? Everyone needs a mentor. And hey, by the way, if you're my age, get a mentor who's around 20. Because you need someone to help you navigate the TikToks and all that stuff. I have a 26-year-old, a 21-year-old, and a 19-year-old. Yeah. My 26-year-old's like, here's really funny. I'm going to tell y'all this story, and then don't repeat it, because it's, hey, can you pause that recording? Okay, here we go. My daughter got a new dog. And so my daughter, 21, sends my mother a picture of the dog, and my mom says, oh, what's his name? And my daughter says, my daughter sends her a text. His name is Benjamin something, BTW. I changed the story. I went to another one. BTW. And my mom goes, so my mom comes and she goes, hey, did you see the new BTW dog? And I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, Alex got a new dog. She named it BTW. She goes, I guess that's a new thing, Batois. And I was like, it's by the way. And then she said, so that means something? And I said, yeah. And she said, oh. She said, well then, my oldest daughter sent her a shirt, and it had a saying on it, and it said AF after it. And she said, what does AF mean? And I said, after? After? She said, okay. She said, I think when I go to church, no ma'am, no. 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 I said, that's a code word for just you and your grandchildren, and you are not to share it with anyone. She's like, like, but I think it's important in the bulletin to say prayer and then AF cakes. No, ma'am. Negative. All right. You need mentors to help because it's a whole new world. None of my children are on Facebook, and I find it so funny because I'm like, get on Facebook with me. And my daughter's like, that's for old people. And I'm like, well, where are you? She's like, not telling you. I was like, I will hunt you down. Okay. Do you provide support to others? Are you empathetic? Do you care? Remember what I talked to you about earlier? Oxytocin, caring, heals your heart. It heals you physically. And do you trust your people? Do you trust your close friends? There's a song right now on my playlist, and the opening verse is, line number 1 is you're supposed to have it all together. When someone asks how you're doing, you smile and tell them, never better. Why do we do that? Why our close friends are like, how are you doing? My response when people say, Joy, how are you doing? I'm like, better than I deserve. And everyone kind of smiles about that. But I've had a really rough 8 months. I was diagnosed with cancer. I found out it spread. My friend was diagnosed with cancer. She passed away. I got to go on. So when people say, how are you doing? Better than I deserve. Because I've got friends dying of cancer, but for some reason my journey's a lot longer. And it's interesting because it's a moment of being humble to understand that life is fragile. And you only go around one time. So let's just go ahead and smile our way through it and get through this pandemic and see, what are we going to do? At the beginning of the pandemic, my husband had a job. He lost his job and has struggled to get back into the workforce. But I had to have extensive surgery for my cancer, and he was able to be with me at Mayo Clinic during that time. Had he been working, I would not have had that. Bless him. Does that see that? I'm not saying be toxic positivity, but that resilience piece is looking at it through a different perspective. I shared this story with Jennifer last night. Your perspective is how you see things. I love ghost movies, shows, like the paranormal stuff, but I'm a huge chicken. So like I watch it, and then no one sleeps in my house for the next 4 days. Like if something happens, I look at the dog, and I'm like, is that a ghost? And he's like, no, we cool. And I'm like, okay. And my husband gets so mad at me, he's like, you turn on one more ghost show, I'm going to choke you. So we have a house at the end of our street. And we were driving home from grocery shopping, and there's people moving in. Again. And I said, hey, babe. Again. I said, hey, babe. He's like, yeah. I said, see that house? He's like, yeah. I said, people moving out again. He's like, yeah. I said, you know what that means? He said, yeah, it's a rental. Oh. He said, Joy, what did you think it meant? It's haunted. He said, what is wrong with you? Like, I like the ghost stuff, but it's scary, and I don't understand it. So the next morning, I saw my mama. My mama's my neighbor. And I saw my mama, we were talking. I said, hey, Mama, you know the house at the end of the street? She said, yeah, the drug house. I was like, what? She's like, people always in and out. They're very suspicious, very suspicious. I was like, one house, 3 different people, 3 different ways we approach it. My mom's calling the cops on him every day. I'm trying to throw holy water on it, and my husband wants to make money off of it. It's a rental. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. He's like, yeah, you're weird. I was like, I know. Perception changes how we approach things. Because it's a cute little house, but I'm still telling y'all it's haunted. Just know it is. What are your internal beliefs? Do you have your purpose? So there's this new study out about what is happiness. There are 3 types of happiness. First, that is your just normal everyday happiness. Someone makes you laugh. It's just those unexpected, oh, that's cute. Okay. The next one is called the good life. And the good life is amazing. The good life is where you find your purpose and your strengths go around it. You use your strengths to fulfill your purpose. It's called the flow. And athletes will talk about this. Athletes get in the flow. Teachers can have a flow. These are the teachers that teach 35 years in the same classroom, and they love it, and they're amazing, right? We know this. And then the third is an overall happiness. You're serving a greater purpose. So when people say, Joy, are you happy with your job? I can look and say, I have coworkers who make me smile and laugh and kids that make me smile and laugh almost every day. I get to work in a job where my purpose and my strengths revolve, yes. And I'm serving a better purpose, which is every night I ask myself, did I make this state better for Alabama's children, teachers, and families? And if I took one step towards that, I try again tomorrow. That's happiness. If our teachers had that, they would stay. So how do we get their strengths around their purpose? We got to get them back to their purpose. Okay? That's your internal beliefs. This right here, if you've ever talked to a pessimist and an optimist, you're going to know what this is. A pessimist sees the world, the bad things that's happened as permanent. So let's say I felt like this was a horrible training I did today. If I'm a pessimist, here's what I would say. I cannot believe I bombed that training. I am such a terrible presenter, right? This is going to mark my job for the rest of my life. I'm permanent. I'm saying it's going to be there. It's pervasive, meaning it's going to take over every part of my life. And it's personal, meaning I'm a terrible presenter, not my training was bad. An optimist will say, that training didn't go well. It was one event. What can I learn from it? And I'm going to rise up and try again in the next time. You got to get people over here to learn. Pessimists don't learn because they're stuck in the problem. You got to kick them over here. And this is where you can use these 3 Ps to talk them through. The teacher's like, I'm just going to quit. It's never getting better. Well, we don't know. It's a pandemic. It did get better a couple of other times before in history. It might get better. If not, we won't be here to find out. No, I'm just kidding. That's not nice. Personal, I just don't have it in me. I'm not the person for this job. Yes, you are. Because somehow God put you here. Every single child that has challenged me has been put in my life to make me stronger. And being in the flow means you step one step out of your comfort zone to grow. You got to be challenged to grow, okay? Initiative. Do you communicate with those around you? Do you try to find the problem? Thank you. Do you have a hobby that you like? Everyone, do you remember the person you were before you got your jobs that took over your life? I tell my parents this all the time. Do you remember the people you were before your children were born? They're like, yeah. Go back to that person. As long as it was legal, go back. Don't go back to illegal stuff when you were a teenager. Just do the legal stuff. One of my moms was like, I used to be a great photographer. One of my teachers was like, I didn't spend all weekend. I did this hobby. What are your hobbies? Every morning and every evening, I'm blessed. I live on property that I can hike on. And we have mastiffs. So everyone's like, you're not scared? I'm like, I have 300 pounds of dog walking with me. I go hiking every morning and every evening. With the short days, I go in the dark. All my mastiffs have a flashlight on their collar so I can find them and find my way home. And everyone's like, you're not scared someone's going to get you in the woods? No, because they'll be slobbered on and I can run the other way. But that's a hobby I have. I don't take a phone with me. My husband's like, can I buy you an Apple Watch? No, Satan, you may not. But Joy, everyone has one. And I'm sure a lot of people have tried heroin too, but I don't want one. No, thank you. And he's like, but then I could text you on your walks. I know. I don't want anyone to find me because that's my time to be away and disconnected. Okay? Find your hobby. It doesn't have to be physical, but you do need to move. Exercise is important. And if you can't, you're like, Joy, who has time to do an hour of exercise a day? It doesn't matter what you do 1 hour a day. It matters what you do the other 23. Park at the end of the parking lot and walk. Take the stairs. We have a parking deck. I can park on level 1. I park on level 7. Sometimes I park on level 1, walk up to 7, walk over and walk down and then go to work. Take the stairs. And everyone's like, Joy, why do you always take the stairs? Because one day I won't be able to. So I take them because I can. My hotel was on the 5th floor. I took the stairs. And that's why I was late this morning. I was talking to the cleaning lady. And she was like, because I had my suitcases down the stairs. But I was adamant. I was like, I'm going to do these stairs. And the cleaning lady was like, we have an elevator. And I was like, I know, but I want to do the stairs. I said, because one day I won't be able to. And then I started this training with her, and she was just like, lady, I was just trying to show you where the elevator was. Can you express your emotions? Name it to tame it. I'm angry. I'm hurt. What's so funny is I'm really good with this, but anybody ever been really good with other people, but then you get with your spouses and you're not really good? So my husband laughs because if I ever start with, what I find funny? He runs. I just find it funny that you, and he's like, oh no. Because that's my key word to be like, I'm about to be really ugly. I just find it funny that we have these things. You're flexible, you can go with the flow, and you can also calm yourself down. What I have found is that when people are super stressed, they are not flexible. They do not go with the flow. This is why when there's an unannounced fire alarm at a school, everyone turns evil, including the children. And it's so, because sometimes the principal, I was at a school doing with behaviors with first class pre-K, and the auxiliary said, I'm going to go to the restroom. And I was like, well, okay, well, we cool. And the teacher was one of those that's just really nervous. Y'all know these people that, like, you stand beside them and you're exhausted? And so I'm working with her, and she's like, the kids are just always all over the place, and they're just bouncing everywhere. I don't know why. And I'm like, really? Probably because your brain's telling them, get ready to run, right? So about that time, the fire alarm goes off, and the teacher, for lack of a better word, loses it. She goes, oh my gosh, get everything. The 4- and 5-year-olds scatter like a drug raid. I mean, there was just kids everywhere. They were pulling toys off the shelf. I'm like, what's happening? I'm looking for the red line on the wall to figure out the exit path because I have no idea how to get. I don't know where we are. The auxiliary's in the bathroom. Pepper knew. Y'all know she knew. We finally get all the kids. We get outside, and the principal goes, he goes, aren't you from the state? No, sir. No, I'm Casey's aunt, and I'm just volunteering. I'm taking my badge off. I'm like, no, I don't. He's like, I do not call the governor. Kay does not want to hear from you today, okay? She's had enough calls this week. Okay. All the kids come out, and they're carrying toys. They did better dismantling that room than 3 men in a truck. We get out the door, and the auxiliary is standing on our X, and she's like, hi, you didn't come back for us? She's like, we must evacuate to be safe. And I'm like, whoa. And the principal goes, well, we're going to have to do this again. I said, oh, no, you're not. No, sir. When that change in events happened, that teacher spun. When she spun, those kids spun. It was insane to watch, but they all followed her lead. So, look at that. I did it, Jennifer. So you have to focus on building your balance. You focus on these steps. If you don't want to do the proquel, ask yourself about the internal beliefs. Ask yourself about your relationships. Ask yourself these pieces so you can build it. But do know this, you can build it. You're building white matter every single day. Today, you're building white matter. One last thing before Jennifer kicks me off the stage. Your old pathways are brain pathways. You cannot deconstruct. Everyone listen to me being a teacher. I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from. You cannot deconstruct a neural pathway. You must replace it. You can't erase it. So if I get angry and I throw a Lysol can, that's what I do when I'm angry. I have to throw to release cortisol. It's logical. If you teach me joy when you're angry, turn and walk, that's a new neural pathway. This one will replace this one. Do you know how many times it takes for the new neural pathway to replace an old one so the automatic one doesn't get used anymore? Anyone want to take a guess? 2,000. This is why building resilience, you have to be intentional. When that negative thought comes in, you say, oh no, not today, Satan, we're moving on this way. Does that make sense? With kids, teaching them strategies, 2,000 times. So you can have a kid using the new neural pathway phenomenally, and then all of a sudden they fall back to their old ways. It doesn't mean they're going back. It just means brain science We keep rebuilding the new one so it gets thicker, because as this one gets thicker, this one gets thinner. But it doesn't mean it ever goes away. The bigger one, the one that's used more, gets used. That's how the brain works. All right, I hope y'all have a great day. Don't take all the Lysol until the end, and I hope y'all have a great conference. You're welcome. Aw, that's because I'm free.
Let's give Joy another round of applause. We just want to mention a few logistical things as we move forward, because we're moving into our first breakout sessions, which will be the technical advisor meetings at the end of this break. So this over here is considered Salon ABC. This is considered in the center, Salon D. This is considered Salon E over here. So as soon as we break, they're going to pull the air walls, and we'll have the 3 separate rooms. If you look at your name badge, many of you have a colored dot on the back of that name badge. That indicates which room you need to go to, because we've tried to space you guys out for social distancing. So Salon A, B, and C will be the red dots. That will be with Miss Sherry Calvert. If you have a blue dot, you're going to be right here in the center, Salon D, with Dr. Phyllis French. And then Salon E will be over here in the green dot and with Miss Donna Goodwin. And let me say that some of you may not have a dot, and that's okay. We ask that you just choose which room for you to go to. I do want to mention for our breakout sessions, that will be after the technical advisor meetings. We do have a change in one of the rooms for the very first breakout session 1, and that's going to be for Suzanne Stone Scholastics. She is one of the vendors that spoke yesterday, and she is going to be in this next room this way, Salon F, and that is for breakout session 1 only. She will not be presenting another breakout session. Also, we have a breakout session that will only be in the first breakout, and that is Camille Anderson Finley, who will be doing the FY22 expense reports for CBOs. So if you are from a community-based organization, then we encourage that someone from your group please attend that in Sandcastle 1 for breakout session 1 only. Breakout sessions 2 and 3 will be other sessions in those rooms, and you can see all of that in your program. As you exit, you're going to receive a door prize ticket. If you will hold on to that ticket, write your name and organization on there, and we will collect those so that we can do door prizes tomorrow at our closing session. I want to introduce a couple of sponsors. We do thank Truman Pierce Institute from Auburn University's College of Education. They have provided our conference bags, the pens, the folders that we have for our handouts, and they did so much work with recruiting our other sponsors, and Truman Pierce is also providing our lunch and our afternoon break today. So I want to invite Dr. Jason Bryant up and give him the opportunity to speak just for a moment or two.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Auburn University and Truman Pierce Institute, it's our pleasure to be here with you all this week. And one of the things that we keep telling everyone is that TPI, as we like to say, we are here to serve you. So if there is professional development needs that you have, whether it's 21st century related, after school related, or just overall professional development for your school or your sites, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. So enjoy the conference, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bryant. Our other vendor sponsor who is going to speak is Erica. Do we need to wait? Oh yeah, SCORE. Okay, come on, and we have SCORE here with us this morning. Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Spencer. I am with the Southeastern Center of Robotics Education, or SCORE for short. So we are out of Auburn University. We're a K-12 outreach housed at Auburn University. We are a nonprofit arm of Auburn University, and we do STEM outreach focused around robotics. So our whole goal is to introduce robotics to teachers to make them feel comfortable using it so that they will introduce it to their students, and our students have exposure, because exposure is what we are after, especially with those 21st century skills, and you can do a lot of those with robotics. We offer professional development for robotics for teachers, so I know we have worked with a lot of 21st century locations over the years with purchasing robotics platforms and then providing the professional development for that. We would love to continue to work with you on that. We're very excited to be here. You can stop by our booth and learn more. So if you have robotics sitting on your shelves and no one at your site is trained to use them anymore, come see us. Or if you want to purchase a new platform and you're not sure which one to purchase, come by and chat with us today. Thank you.
The breakout sessions after the technical advisor meeting will be A, B, C, D, E, that first session F, but there's also the Sand Dollar and Sandcastle. They are across the lobby past the hotel registration, and they're on the east side of the building, and we'll be there to direct you all. So thank you so much. We're gonna have our break. The technical advisor meeting will begin 9:30. Thank you.